So welcome everybody. Thanks for attending the Baltimore Jazz Conference. It's been a great day so far. We've had a bunch of interesting panels and a couple of great performances. We had a really killer backyard performance going on by Jamal Moore and Sharon White. And looks like Justin Taylor's concert is just finishing up on that stream. So you know, we're covering all kinds of different things here at this event, and one of them, a big one, is we're in the midst of this pandemic, and all of our everything we've all been doing as far as promoting and presenting and performing jazz has been upended, as obviously we all know. So I've brought together some of the people who are still getting some stuff done and have figured out different ways. All of you, I think, have figured out different ways of getting things done in this situation. And I know a lot of other people are doing stuff, but a lot of them want to be doing stuff and are not quite sure how to get anything done in this environment. And then so maybe maybe some people feel like maybe the time isn't right. So there's a lot to talk about, what to do, how to do, and and how it's going. So just to go around and say who we've got. We've got Cheryl Goodman from WEAA and Your Girl Cheryl, many productions of all kinds. We've got Barbara Grubbs from Contemporary Arts. I know you've been doing some taking somewhat a step back during all this, but putting on some streaming things with the libraries and some other stuff like that. Henry Wong of Musik. Amazing the rapid transformation of Musik from a live performance venue to a full-time multi days a week live streaming venue has been great. And Ed, you've really this bass player and an educator, and he's been much more sort of, if you don't mind me saying, underground and sort of ad hoc, but throwing together all kinds of stuff and figuring out, okay, pop-up concerts in the park and concerts on the porch and all these different ways of presenting and getting out to the public to keep music going and to keep musicians working, which is really fantastic. So, it looks like I lost Henry, and let me get him back again if I can. Okay, anyway, Henry may be having some technical difficulties. He may be in and out, but we'll get started with you guys. Cheryl, you want to say a little about what's going on with you?
Sure. You want me to give my whole shebang, or
anything
just
you like?
A little bit of bio.
Whatever you feel.
Okay. Like. I'll just start off with a little thing to introduce myself, and it's only take a few minutes so we can go around. I'm Cheryl. Your Girl Cheryl on WEAA radio. Haven't been on there for a while because my thing was what's hot with Your Girl Cheryl, sort of on the weekends. And my thing was about getting out and really supporting live music and live arts and things like that. But stopped. I really didn't have a place on the station so much. So I've been really trying to continue it in other ways, online, through social media. I have a magazine, What's Hot in the DMV. Online magazine that I try to shift from sort of what's coming up to articles and interviews with some artists that always contact. We send that out to about 5,000 to 7,000 people every month. But I've presenting and producing jazz for at least 30 years. I've worked with Jazz Times Magazine, used to be a writer for them, and also used to co-produce there in the year. Also have just presented jazz at hotels and nonprofit organizations and restaurants and things, like I said, for the last 30 years. And here in the Baltimore, DC region, I try to sort of do it in the region and try to really present mainly local artists who've done really well or just, up and coming, have presented at the Baltimore Museum of Art. I started the Jazz in the Sculpture Garden series. Also at the Blake Center, just a variety of locations around. And I try to infuse music, live music and jazz most places if I'm working a regular gig or something like that. And, you know, basically, when I give talks, I do like to talk about how to present jazz just in general. But of course, this pandemic has created a special kind of challenge. I won't say a problem, but it's a challenge. But my view is I'm really not so much supportive of everything online. I think when we make that switch and it gets too comfortable, when we get back to normal, you know, we'll be too comfortable with the virtual, and I want to keep that live experience going. So I'm trying to keep doing that until it absolutely has to stop. So I did just produce the Summer Music Moves Festival a couple weeks ago. It was in multiple locations around the city. And I'm gonna keep doing that kind of thing. But like I said, I'll keep my intro short right now, because that's sort of my viewpoint. We're really living in uncertain times, and I can't make a lot of decisions about what I can do and can't do right now. But what I think I can do, I am trying to do, and continuously until it gets too cold, you know, trying to do outdoors, trying to socially distance, all of that kind of thing. And if we have to sort of wait until a couple of months and see where everything lands, that might have to be the case. But for now, that's where I stand.
All right.
Is that good? I only want to take a few minutes.
That's fantastic. Barbara, you want to say a few things?
Well, what can I say? Our organization is Contemporary Arts Incorporated. We've been in business 23 years. For a number of years, our focus was just providing at youth risk opportunities to explore the jazz art form. And then, of course, with our camps, after we had the variety of jazz instruction classes, we added dance, and then we've added chess to broaden the experience of those young people. So we run that camp primarily on the campus of Loyola University of Maryland since 1997 up until this year, when we did not have the camp at all. So that threw us through a real wrench in our plans, because we knew right away that we were not going to have that. So early in the year, as soon as things were shut down, we decided, no, we're not going to try to do anything with young people this year, maybe this year. I attended a virtual online with the Maryland State Arts Council organizations, and everybody had plans, and my feeling then was, you know, it's almost like a day-to-day thing. You just really can't plan what you're going to do in 2021 or 2022. You really have to just take it easy. But what happened to us is that thanks to the partner we were able to still be engaged with providing opportunities for local artists to perform live streaming events. So in the months of May, June, July, August, and September, and October, with our partners, the Baltimore County Public Library and the Enoch Pratt Library, the Baltimore County Department of Aging, we have provided live ensembles, usually a trio that they can provide to their readership or those people who register online to attend. So having those partners have really kept us alive and not feeling like we're dead in the water. At the same time, we're still thinking about how we're going to serve young people, because we own our own instruments and we don't want them to just be laying in my closet downstairs. We want them to be utilized. And so we're working on plans at how we can possibly distribute the instruments to young people, and then also arrange for them to have some virtual and some in-person instruction. I take it from the comments that I've had from the administration at Loyola that they do want us to have a program in 2021. So we're gearing ourselves to planning that. In terms of other concerts, we've only had one outside event other than the events with our partners. And it's not an outside event because this is the second year that we partnered with Keystone to do a Free Fall Baltimore event. Last year we did Carl Grubbs Jazz and String Ensemble. This year we did Carl Grubbs and the New Generation, which involved the Dorsey children, who he has mentored since they were very young kids. So it was delightful for them to come together again. They really enjoyed playing his original music. And so that was a very exciting evening for both of those. I was very pleased by the outcome of that. We were kind of questionable. We had just 41 people online, but 61 who actually attended the concert in person. And I thought in these times that was a good response in terms of people coming out to see the music. So that's where we are right now. We the only thing that we have in the, what shall I say, in the works is we're working on our presentation of the Baker Art, the award-winning Baker artist that we've done every year since 2009. So that will be our next project, which we've always begun to work on in terms of how we can do that, how we can present that in a different format other than in person. Maybe by the time it occurs in January, February, things will have changed. And so we will be able to use a venue. What I like about doing it in live stream, however, is though that many of the big artists have moved out of Baltimore City. And so if it is live stream, it will allow other Baker artists who no longer live in Maryland to participate. And I've gotten a response from them already that yes, they do want to participate. So that will make a more diverse presentation for us to have artists with some other kind of instrument. So that's where we are right now.
Cool. So finding some silver lining there. Anyway, Ed, you want to fill us in on what you got going on?
Sure. Awesome. That was great to hear from both Cheryl and Barbara. It's awesome what the Grubbs family does for Baltimore City. It's beautiful. I see it firsthand every day. So thank you for that. What I've been doing is just direct response to everything shutting down. Just trying to find different ways to get out and play. So since the pandemic started and everything shut down, I was doing live streams in my basement when it was cold. And now the weather's nice. So I started playing on my porch, which has been interesting to say the least. Started out as just duets, and it was nice to be able to, not only play with people, but play for people, which I know everybody missed that live experience for especially that first month that everything was going down. But even still now, it's tough to find ways to go out and see music. So it's been really beautiful. The neighborhood has really rallied around it. And initially I was really worried about, noise complaints, hiring Clarence Ward to come play on my porch. That guy doesn't play quiet. So I figured somebody would complain, but we've been going strong for probably 8 months now, and no complaints. Everybody's really loving it. And the challenges with that are really just trying to find the right times and the right way to approach it. So doing the porch concerts, I've gotten a lot of great coverage from some news sources, and that's been really positive. I think I got a write-up in the Baltimore Magazine as a #1 choice for a first date was at my house. So I thought that was pretty ironic. So if you guys are looking for a first date, just come to my porch. It has been at 7 o'clock, but we're doing that now at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays at 28th and Calvert. Just change it every week. This week's going to be Tomas Durgan and Baltimore Swing Drop. Should be fun. And next week, Mark Kelly, who's fresh out of surgery, going to come and play with his new prosthetic leg, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be great to give him an opportunity to play for some people. I know that that's extremely therapeutic for him and for everybody mentally. It's just great to play and hear live applause. Of course, got to live stream everything so that the people that aren't coming out can still sit and check it out and see it later. I've really kind of gotten hip to, how to promote these things on social media, whether or not it's, sharing with the local neighborhood groups or posting to the Jazz Alliance page or an email list or direct messaging people, whatever you got to do. Word of mouth, obviously the best way to go. But I got a sign in my front yard that just says there's a porch concert every Wednesday. So that's how I'm doing it. The other thing I'm doing is I'm playing every Tuesday. We started this pop-up jazz jam, which has been just something I was thinking about all year because the Terra Jam session hasn't happened, can't happen. I know they tried to get it rolling, but it's just difficult being a restaurant and trying to let people in. So they're not doing it. And I went ahead and got a battery powered speaker. I found Michael Reitzik, who plays phenomenal guitar and also has a battery powered speaker. I bring my drum kit out. We started as a trio, and I just send the blast out to everybody. And we pick a different location every week and try to show up in a green space in the city, one of the parks or one of the, you know, empty lots, and set up. And it's been really awesome to people that don't even know that it's happening, just kind of show up, that maybe might have not been exposed to jazz very often, especially during the pandemic. So they get the live music, and you kind of get to network with a lot of people that you wouldn't get to otherwise. Of course, the real kicker with that is that the musicians can come out and play in a safe setting. You know, we're outside, everybody can be far apart. And so I've had some kids from Morgan State, some students from Morgan State come through, and some students from Peabody, current students at Peabody, Peabody graduates, some Towson students. I had some freshmen from my class at Baltimore School for the Arts come out and play, which was the real impetus for starting that. So they had a chance to come out and play and kind of work their chops out, reason to practice. So that's been going really well. I'm really a little anxious and nervous about where this is going to go in the next few months in terms of playing outside. I just don't see it. I don't see it being able to continue through January and March, or January, February, and March. It's just going to be too cold. But I do know that in Baltimore, we're going to get some warm days in the middle of January, in the middle of February, and you bet your ass I'm going to be out there playing. So that's pretty much it. I've been playing with Aaron Hill a lot. If you don't know Aaron Hill, you're probably living under a rock. He's a great pianist, and he's been doing kind of a similar thing to me. It's a concept called Street Serenades, and he's out pretty much every day, live streaming and playing live and for everybody. So we're out every Sunday in Ellicott City playing right outside the B&O Railroad Museum. We'll be out there tomorrow around 12:30 to 2:30, and it's going to be a great time. So yeah, just really grateful for all the restaurants keeping music going, and for all the music that are still rocking. For you.
Thank you.
All right, very cool. Henry, you want to?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, I have some problem with my laptop. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, yeah, why don't you take a turn and tell us what you're up to and how things are going?
Well, I'm Henry from Musik, and I'm sure, like, you know, I know Barbara, Eddie, and Cheryl, and talk to Roy and Terry. Terry, you know, been performing at Musik during the non-pandemic times. We started doing live streaming since March 20th. We're pretty much the first in the whole country presented live streaming during the pandemic when everyone was kind of like worried about the health and stay home. So we started as like a very small, like an ensemble, like a trio or duo or solo musician with lots of social distancing. And, you know, we really want to emphasize social distancing is very important when you're performing, whether it's outdoor or inside. Frankly, like, it doesn't matter how good the air system that you have, unless you have the airplane system that is very expensive. It's truly very, you know, scary that when people can cut things during performance or anywhere, you know, even walking on the streets. So tonight is our 120th live streaming concert. So, you know, we do it primarily for Baltimore musicians, you know, and Eddie performed very early in April. He did it twice, and it was fun because it really gives musicians a chance to be their own marketing center. It's quite different that you rely on the restaurant because of the food and alcohol. You really much have to rely on yourself, use your dedication and your devotion. It's very, very different. It's a different way of self-promoting. And it's also, if it's successful, you feel a lot of pride and joy in yourself. because you're actually making it happen for yourself. It is not about you performing and some menus. They can sell a lot with a lot of drink, so they can pay you a certain amount of money. In restaurant type of a performance, it's really much like you're hired to perform there. It's really not about you. It's about your name that they can draw the people to buy, food and tables, and so they can see you. So that's how the old model of entertainment is and was for the last more than 50 years. With the pandemic, it truly really stopped that particular model. It's not really working well, and it probably won't be working well, especially when you see the spikes of all these new positive COVID testings. I think a lot of people need to be careful is the jazz audiences tends to be older. Most of us, as we get older, we have underlying health concerns. It's not because we want to have it, it just happens that we have it. So given the fact that I personally don't really see the restaurant entertainment part of this business is going to really continuously flourish, uh, not even till next summer. If there is some kind of a vaccine that can help the COVID patients, because at this point right now, everything is in a rush to come up with the right solution or the right remedy. I personally don't really think that it's worth your health to risk to perform in a room when strangers are sitting there and you're asking people to practicing social distancing. It's a very difficult thing to do. I have seen live streaming shows, and then the tables are so close to the stage, and then when you have musicians performing with the horn or singing it, there's absolutely no way unless the person in front are wearing the mask, and providing they're not eating or drinking. So I think that a lot of times we need to try to look for alternative solutions, how to make the musicians continuously performing in a safe environment, and also make them become part of their own. They empower themselves to be successful. We have shows that musicians can draw like 250 ticket purchases for themselves during in some of our live streaming shows during the pandemic. And given the fact that the ticket sales for us is $5, is very cheap. We started with $5 because we really want the public to have a chance to enjoy themselves, not to spend a whole lot of money. But we also encourage them to be more sympathetic, that they will, you know, donate money to the musicians throughout the concert, so the musicians can make additional money for themselves. And we have musicians that are very diligent to promote themselves, and they actually make a few $1,000s for themselves. Now, of course, we have performers that really didn't want to promote for their own show, so they end up making less than $100, just like a normal pay when they do it in a gig in any restaurants. I'm sure a lot of musicians, only get less than $100 to perform in a gig in a restaurant, maybe with a few free drinks or a meal. So I think that if some musicians, I'd be very surprised and grateful that there are people watching. And for our live streaming, we actually reach out to people in Germany, in Asia, in 50 states of the United States. We have people bought tickets from Hawaii, Florida, and definitely a lot from Baltimore and Maryland area, because our musicians is really Baltimore and Maryland centric. Because the whole point when we started this whole live streaming is we want to support our Baltimore musicians, because we are Baltimore. So it's not about like venues, they bring in big names from outside Baltimore, which is important. But I think that we are Baltimore, we need to promote our own people first. So if you look at pretty much all our 119 shows so far, I would say almost every one of them is Baltimore related. So I just start from here. Thank you.
That's fantastic. It's great. It's great, you know, that you're keeping all that going, and it's great to hear from all of you, all the different ideas. I want to, you know, make sure we're open for questions. So if people have questions, please put them in the chat. I'm going to watch the chat, so you guys don't have to, and I'll read you the questions as they come in. You know, or participants, you can raise your hands. There's a little hand wave button in Zoom somewhere, depending on your interface, and I'll try to watch for those. And if you can't get my attention, then you can just unmute yourself and jump in. But, you know, I just don't want everybody going all at once. So just to get us started, I've got a couple questions. Ed, I want to ask, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but all these pop-up jams and just this sort of outdoor stuff in general, permits, have you been chased off by cops or anything like, you know, like what's the deal?
So yeah, I was initially pretty worried about it when we first did it at Wyman Park in the Dell. You know, carrying a drum set down there, you got speakers. We were stealing power from there. I know a secret spot to get power if anybody needs it. And I thought for sure, you know, we don't play that loud though, so it's really not that big of a deal. And the Dell really kept it in. When we went to Mount Vernon this week, I had heard from multiple people that, you know, you can't do that. You need a permit. And there's a sign out in the park that says you need a permit to do this. And, you know, I've always thought it's better to ask for forgiveness than beg for forgiveness than ask for permission, right? So what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Are they going to write me a ticket? That's the worst thing that's going to happen. They're probably not going to lock me up for playing music outside, right? They might write me a ticket. Most likely in this like situation that we're in now, they're going to ask me to leave.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. Like, if you've had any situations, or if any of you guys know people that have, where they even like come along, because I would think like they might even not even ask you to leave. They might be like, you know, in this situation, you're doing the best you can. So
right. I mean, I try to. We're not there for long. We're only there for 2 hours. I figure by the time somebody figures it out, complains about it, and somebody comes down there to kick us out, we're going to be done anyway. So I'm looking forward to it.
You're playing good music, so what's to complain about? Right?
Yeah, it's community. You know, we're bringing live music to the neighborhoods, spreading it around town. So we're at a different spot every week, and I don't tell anybody where it is. I'll tell you guys we're going to be at Lake Montebello at 4 to 6 p.m. on Tuesday.
Cool.
But I'm trying to bring it to every different area of the city. I think next week we're gonna, or 2 weeks from, a week from Tuesday, we're gonna be out in West Baltimore, out at Todd Marcus's nonprofit, Jubilee Arts, I think is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're gonna fire and play. We've played on the Why Not lot on North Avenue. We did Roosevelt Park in Hamden, a bunch of different spots. I like to pick spots that, you know, people can spread out. I don't think it's a problem. I think the weather's going to be a problem before anybody gives us hell for playing outside, you know?
Yep. Agreed. That's very cool. Henry, I got a question for you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Cheryl, you want?
No, go ahead to Henry. You can come back to me.
Well, I just wanted to ask Henry, you know, now that you've been doing this a while, 120 concerts, let's just assume and pray that things ever get back to where people can be in the same room, you know, and actually come into Musik. Do you think do you see a possibility of continuing to stream as well, you know, stream the live concerts now that you've gotten your feet wet?
Yeah, we most definitely will. Not sure that we want to do it for every show because the streaming process is pretty technical. I'm definitely, you know, not knowing how to do it, and I'm the first to don't want to test my stupidity to try to set it up myself. So we were blessed in the very beginning. We worked with Peabody, you know, sound engineering department graduates to set everything up properly. So they are extremely knowledgeable in audio part of the whole recording part, because that's the degree in recording engineering. So our key element that so many times you watch live streaming, the audio is really the most crucial part of the whole experience. if the listening is not very soothing, I think that a lot of people will just kind of like jump out of what they're watching because they really don't want to, listening to something that is fading in and out. So we start from the beginning. We really emphasize on the audio part of it, whole thing. And then we improve gradually on the video part of it because the video part of it costs a lot of money because it costs a lot of money to buy expensive cameras and everything. Back to your question, yeah, we will do a live broadcasting, when we back down to normal, and we sort of figure out how to do it without impeding with the audiences, because one of the worst things is when you do live streaming during a live performances is you have cameras everywhere, and then then you have cables, and it's definitely not the right way to invite people to come to watch anything. And so before we want to do all that part, we need to learn how to do it right in our settings so we can make sure that when people are coming back to watch the show, they won't have to lose any type of the aesthetic like they were in the past by having all these microphone stands or like tripods everywhere. It is, so we would definitely, when the time is ready for us to let the public in, we will be continuously do live streaming because we realize, one of our disadvantages, we're on the second floor. So a lot of our patrons, as they get older, especially the jazz patrons, they are they're older, patrons. So walking up, flight of steps is very difficult. And also a lot of people, their unwillingness to go out at nighttime. And so if they can stay home and watch it, and the sound and the video part of it is very good, I don't really see they really need to go out to see a live show because, older folks, including myself, we're happy just to stay home many times because we feel comfortable. So I think the live streaming is really here to stay, and then it depends on how well you learn and improve on for your own performances. And I think that every musician should take that very seriously. That's just my point. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Cheryl, I don't want to start a fight here, but that's like exactly what you're afraid of in a way, right? It's like once we get normalized to this streaming, it's going to be all too common.
Yeah.
What exactly do you think about that?
Yeah, that is my point. And I understand that the live streaming could really save us right now. And it's a good addition, but sort of walking that fine line of not letting it switch totally. Like you said, I'm getting older too. I may not want to walk up the steps, and if you give me that option, I might stay home. But I'm trying, and like I said, that's sort of what your Girl Cheryl thing was about. It's sort of an over 40s kind of audience, but trying to get them to continuously go out and maybe make it a mix if you can. I mentioned earlier the Summer Music Moves Festival that I had produced a couple weeks ago. It was designed actually, we started it last year, and Center Stage was our partner. So we did it at Center Stage, and we highlighted Mesa and Cyrus Chestnut as two artists from Baltimore who had both done very well. And then we had, it's a music and dance festival. So we had some local dance companies, and everything went well. So this year, this was a grant funded production. We were funded a grant again, but when COVID hit, the funder took the grant back and said, well, because of the COVID, Center Stage will be closed and you can't use it. But I said, well, wait a second, let me revise it. So I redesigned it so that we were outdoors in 3 different locations in the city. And I found 3 locations that were free or very low. Center Stage had us do something outside. We presented Todd Marcus along with the Dorsey teens and a dancer. We were at Parks and People, which is over there between Druid Hill Park and Mondawmin Mall, which is a very nice setting. And we're also at Eager Park in East Baltimore. If you haven't been out there, there's a beautiful new park over there that's accessible. And so we presented dance and music at each one of those. And at the one in Eager Park, it was Rufus Roundtree featuring Clarence Ward. the third, and the Be More Brass Factory along with the dance company. But the idea was to do it outdoors while this COVID situation is going on, let people socially distance. So we marketed, but not really heavily because we didn't want a big crowd that would all be all on each other. We wanted people to be able to spread out. And Eager Park is sort of naturally set up for that. It has seating that sort of does that for you. And, you know, ask people to wear masks. And it really, I think it worked very well, almost like as a COVID kind of event, because it was designed to fit the COVID situation. And so for 2021, I'm not sure, like you said, everything is uncertain. I don't really know what it's gonna be, but Center Stage really loved having the music and dance outside on their steps. So if we do it again, we might do it indoors, we might do it outdoors, we might do both. You know, I'm planning on going back to Eager Park. I know there are a couple of jazz artists who have been going out there performing. And so I think the idea is to just try to be creative. And like I said, it's my personal view that I don't want it to just shift to everything live streamed, because to me that's, you know, it's like watching TV. I could stay home and watch TV, and just because I know you're doing it live, I mean, that's what they're doing on TV at some point. I want to keep that relationship, immediate relationship between artists, live artists and live audience together at some point, but keeping everybody safe. And Henry, you're right, until people feel safe coming out, because I also book some artists. I have a couple artists that I represent, and I book them at some locations around the city who are open at cut capacity, but you know, they're willing to have, they're still bringing artists in and they're still paying a fee. And, you know, but they've changed dramatically to go from 500 seats to 100 seats. I booked some artists at the Birchmere in Northern Virginia, and that's their situation. So that's a major decrease for them in income. And of course, the fee to my band is lower, but but they put some things in place. If a certain number of tickets are sold, then the band gets a little bit more, And the bands I booked were able to bring in a little bit more ticket revenue than they had expected. So they did pretty well. But, you know, maybe just riding that fine line for a while of both until the weather breaks again. But I think we might have to look at primarily outdoor events and activities, particularly in 2021. At least that's a safe bet right now. And I would go with that and the live streaming until we know for sure what's going to happen. I'm going to put the link to the festival in the chat box. And if you want to see some of it, Rufus and his band plays first, then there's some dance, and then Todd Marcus's group comes in with a dancer, Vincent Thomas, about midway through. So I'll put it in the chat, so if anybody wants to check it out, they can. And even on my website, just see some of it. But I thought staying outdoors and just being cognizant that you're trying to keep everybody safe made things work.
Any of you audience out there have questions?
I have a question for Henry.
Yeah.
This is Skip Grasso.
Yeah.
Henry, I was wondering, you know, there's a talk just among my friends, you know, what days, since it's wide open and you can be seen at any day, is there a stronger day that you're noticing for your streaming, or is any day fair game? I'm just sort of curious. You know, since we're supposed to be able to watch from home, you would think it would be any day, but I'm wondering, you know, is there still a weekend? Is that still the best time? Thank you.
Hi, Skip. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I have you.
Okay. Well, I would say that in the beginning of the pandemic, when people are sheltered in place, any day is just as good because people are really, you know, starving, for a better word to use. They're really hoping to hear some performances by the musicians that they know. Streaming is actually, you know, it's not something new. I mean, you go to YouTube, everything on YouTube, it was a stream, and then so people can watch it over and over again. but to see your friends performing like for Skip performing at our live streaming or Eddie performing at our live streaming, and it's a at the beginning it's a very personal thing for him, and his family can watch him performing and he's healthy and having a good time. And then for the YouTube, live streaming, there's a chat feature so people can write comments throughout the whole concert. And musicians are really excited to read, how the friends talk about them. And especially sometimes you have relatives or friends from far away that they bought the tickets and you feel very special. Now back to the question about Monday to Sunday, is it a better day to do live streaming? I normally tell musicians a lot of time to skip the weekends because especially nowadays, all the bigger venues are getting involved into live streaming and having limited or patrons going into the restaurants. So they're going to try to outgun each other with bigger names. So that's primarily what you see now. If you pay attention to all the clubs are doing live streaming on weekends, they're almost 100% they using the bigger the names to draw people, and then they charge more money for the tickets. I tend to recommend musicians to perform Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or even sometimes on Sunday, because it doesn't matter like you have to have a weekend, because especially now people are not quite following the rules, or the rules have been relaxed so you can go out and hang out. So more and more people tends want to spend the weekends, go out to restaurants to eat. And so you have to tell your friends that, hey, you can buy the ticket, watch it later, which is true for Musik live streaming. But how many people are willing to do that? They said that, well, I'm going to watch it later. The ones that will watch it later, to me, they are diehards. They are really, truly, they love music. They really want to watch music. But for casual people, they just want entertainment. They most likely will not buy your ticket and watch it later. So I tend to recommend a lot of the musicians. I said, try my. Then you have to ask about what's on television. Which really, like, if you are a TV person, then you can, then you said that you have a competition. But as you know that you can actually record your TV favorite programs. So it's no difference that they can make changes too. So it really boils down to how we musicians like to promote yourself. That's what Eddie's doing all the time. I go on the Facebook, he's always there, which is a wonderful thing because, people want to do something differently. And I think that, at this point right now is each individual musician have to, on a Wednesday, I'm going to promote most of our successful shows that people bought a lot of tickets. It's not on the weekends. They're on a Thursday night. They're on a Wednesday night. Why? Because there's nothing for them to do. If you want to do it on a Friday night, well, nowadays you get a few clubs in New York are doing live streaming, and so you're gonna have to decide which musician you want to see. And and then it's the same thing and then they are expensive. So I personally don't have a perfect answer, but I would, if I were going to give advice to musicians, I would say that try Monday to Thursday and not necessarily have to do Friday or Saturday. I hope it's
Well, I appreciate your answer, Mission. It's counterintuitive to not program on the weekend, right? So thank you.
Yeah.
Can I add something, Ian?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, the other thing about live streaming is that while a great benefit is that people all over the country and all over the world, particularly if you're working with Henry, but also realize that musicians are doing this, okay? So you're competing with a lot of other musicians, not just locally, all over the country. Everybody has gone to this format. And some are local artists, and some are national artists, and some are international artists. So when you have John Legend, you know, from his house live streaming so-and-so, and you're live streaming so-and-so, I mean, take those kinds of things into account, that everything has changed. So it's not just the format, but your competition, how you're presenting. And so your issue, Skip, about timing is important. So just, you know, sort of keep that in mind too, because I've had some artists who have really been pushing live streaming, and I find that they're really thinking of it locally, you know, like who else around is doing it, but I mean, it's across the board. So depending how everybody is marketing, you know, realize that your competition or it has changed as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it raises a question that somebody posted in the chat. So wanted to ask Henry in particular. Are you reaching new audience members or the same audience members?
Ian, and to the person on the chat, it's a very good question. The answer is we are reaching a lot of new viewers. Definitely, we have the regular base from Baltimore, but we actually have, since we have done 119, so we actually have so many people purchasing tickets from all over the country or throughout the world. Otherwise, they would never heard of Musik. We in the beginning of our live streaming, our live streaming were picked up by a jazz magazine in Europe. It's called Jazz in Europe. So they did a story on us from one of our early shows with Joshua Espinosa and Warren Wolf in April concert. And we pick up quite a good buzz from the European side, because people really want to see something differently. And when we first started the whole thing, and we still are, our prices is the lowest for live streaming, for $5 or $7 compared to most of the venues at 10 and above. Now, what Cheryl brought up a very, very good point about when John Legends, or whoever famous people doing live streaming. Well, 100% of those live streamings are free, and they primarily do it on Facebook. And unfortunately, I told my musicians, I said, there's nothing in the world that we can compete with anything like that sort. So the key thing to begin with live streaming is you are relying on your own fan base. You should have a fan base that people that, whether it's your family or people that go to the same church with you, and those are your core supporters. You need to get those folks to support you, to buy your tickets, because, and then you want to make sure that if you are performing in an ensemble, then everyone in the ensemble has to work together to promote the show. Because the regular model is you have a band leader, he get the gig, and then he booked the other musicians, they just all show up and perform in a club, and they all get paid. But this is a little different. I tend to tell every musicians that when they walk into our Musik, like concert hall, we become like a TV studio. We just tell them that on always, whatever you do, so we cannot stop and restart again. So it's very important. I said to everyone that we can. And key thing is you have to tell all your friends on the live streaming. They do their homework, they work hard, they promote themselves, or the family members help to promote, their own children. And with that word of mouth, and people are buying tickets, and then more of them buying tickets. And of course, with us, it's like we allow the public to watch each concert for 1 week, which almost 100% of the other venues, they only give you no more than 24 hours to watch it. So we want to make sure that people will buy the ticket and they know they can watch it later, or if they like it so much, they would like to watch it again. And so this is the kind of thing that what we have done is we're creating a platform for all the musicians to communicate with their fans. So this is what something is important. And I think in the past, it seems to lack of, because they just get a gig, they perform, they get paid, and then they go home. Now they can actually talk to them far away in front of like a TV camera. So I think that, we all are learning something during this pandemic, and it's nothing really wrong to learn new things. But unfortunately, you know, this is not the solution for musicians to get, the monetary, the money that they used to get before the COVID-19. Of course, the COVID-19 have makes everyone like, financially has, put a dent, a hole in our financials. So, but I hope that, the live streaming, if you do it right, can help to subsidize, at least part of it. Thank you.
Ian, if I can interject, can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I recently performed a live streaming event at Andy Musik, and Henry and his team were great. They were fantastic. And for my group is the Chip Miller Fusion. We are a jazz fusion group.
That was a great show, by the way. One of the few that I've caught there lately.
Thank you. For us, it was a good barometer, if you will, in us kind of determining where our core fan base is, and where we need to go from there. I want to commend Ed Hrybyk for his efforts. I've seen him around town. I've seen news clips of him around town. I've heard of Ed, and I don't know him personally, but I am aware of him and his music. And Ed, I want to say thank you for the efforts that you've put forth, and I hope we get to see you guys live soon. It's also it's a great experience for me and my group to help us learn some things. We're an up-and-coming group, and we had quite a bit of dates that were canceled due to COVID, including a monthly gig session at Terra Cafe that we were doing. So some things that have changed, that have forced us to kind of look at things another way. It's really weird because we usually rehearse weekly. We took something outside once. I have a garage, and we took a rehearsal outside when I was having some work done in my basement, and we did a video out there, and we did some rehearsals out there, and all my neighbors were like, when are you going to do that again? When are you going to come out again? So we have truly become a garage band, and able to do some pop-up things, if you will, right outside here that don't require too much other than carrying equipment outside to the garage. And our neighbors really like it. And it helps us to determine, where our fan base is, who likes our music, and who wants to, wants to see us going forward. So I commend Cheryl Goodman on the work that she's done over the years. I don't know her personally, but I know her sister real well, Marita, and both of them were go-getters. And so I know that they're a great family, and she has dedicated quite a bit to the music scene in Baltimore. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this. Ian, I'm just so blessed to be a member of BJA and all the help that you've given us as well. So, as an up-and-coming band, even though we're in a pandemic, I have to say that everyone has really softened the blow for us, and given us a lot of good ideas to which we can, build on. I don't know where this is going to land in 21, but all I can tell you is we're rehearsing our butts off to try and be a better band, to be a better commodity to present within the industry. And, there's a lot of good things going on in Baltimore. I'm proud of Baltimore. And hopefully in 21, we'll be able to showcase all of the hard work and efforts that everyone has put out in the area and move forward. But I think we will get through this. And I just enjoy so much learning from all those around me that I can apply to our band and keep it going forward. So I'm gonna give everybody a thumbs up and say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing about just kind of piggyback on what Roy was talking about. One of the biggest, brightest kind of things that's come out of this, or at least in my experience, has been to really network within my like neighborhood community, not just like the Baltimore community or the jazz community, but like literally the people on my block. And I'm a type of person that likes to know my neighbors. So I know my people that live right next door to me and the people that live behind me, but there's a lot more people that live on my block than that, and people that live blocks around there. So in the neighborhood of Charles Village, people have come out of the woodwork, man. And I've met so many people that really, really love music that might not have known where I play, how to follow me, how to find out where I'm playing, what I'm doing. So I think when I come out of this, I'm going to have a whole nother group of people that are in tune with what's going on. And I mean, people love this stuff. It's just you can't always rely on social media to get your message out there. It's just not going to work all the time. The best way to do it is get your mouth. The best way to do that is
Yeah, and I want to connect to what Ed just said as far as, capturing those people. As you're meeting them face to face, it's easier to capture them sometimes on social media. But as you're performing live, getting that email address so you can contact them later so they know where you're going to be, or, sharing the social media information, whatever. But letting that connection grow. And I do want to say for everybody, we're in a new time and this is a new day and there is some uncertainty. And if we can be positive and use this time to figure out some creative things to do, I wanted to mention that the band that I had before that, I mentioned Rufus Roundtree and the Be More Brass Factory, they actually played on a pirate ship down in the harbor, sponsored by WTMD. They do this pirate ship that sort of goes throughout the harbor. And they just hung this big sign out with their Cash App information or whatever, because I don't think they got paid to do the gig, but they put that out there. And they raised a lot of money for themselves that way. So, look around. There are still some opportunities out there to share your music. And I think this time is a time to be creative and think of other ways you can present yourself. You can connect with others, partners. Barbara mentioned that, the partners that they have. You got to build some partnerships with some organizations out here to keep you going. So, use this time to figure out all the new things you can do, but it's a new day. And just showing up at the gig is not going to be enough. So, I wish everybody good luck with it. And I know we're going to come out in 2021 stronger and greater.
Yeah, for sure. Let me say that it is 5 o'clock, 5:01 actually. And here's what's going to happen. Officially, this session is over. I know Ed has to go and get to a gig. I'm going to hang out in this room, and you're welcome to hang out with me. But there are 3 other sessions going on, so you're also welcome to drop off and go join one of those. There's a session with Rufus Roundtree, who we were just talking about, and Rodney Kelly on engaging the audience, their tips and ideas about how and why to engage the audience to the fullest. There's a FAQs about online playing, as in digital tools that you need to collaborate with each other. And there's also a meet and greet sort of question and answer with Todd Barkin of Keystone Corner. So you can go and find out some of his stories and any of that. Or you're welcome to hang out here, as I said, panelists as well as audience, whoever wants to talk more about this stuff or anything else. I'll be sitting in here until the end of this. And I want to thank all 4 of you panelists and all of you audience for being here and doing this. It's great to hear from all of you. It's great to hear what you're all doing. It's great that music is staying alive no matter what. And thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
you. Ian. See y'all.
Thank you.
I can hang out if people have a question or something, but do you think anybody has a question?
Looks like most of them are dropping off. There's a couple people still hanging. I don't know if any of you that are remaining have questions or just haven't hung up yet.
Question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a question, but I don't know if Baltimore Contemporary Arts is really a Baltimore County organization. And so for the past 10 years, we not primarily, a lot of our events are held in Baltimore City. A lot of our focus has been Baltimore City. But as we are funded Baltimore County organization, we've also been focused on bringing the music out to the community where we live. So one of the things that we're doing, taking this time to do, is assess the resources in Baltimore County. We used to use the Randallstown Community Center and present free events, which would accommodate 150 people, and it was always packed. And we brought local artists into Baltimore, Randallstown, as well as international artists. However, those venues are closed to us. And so we're in the process of assessing different parks and other kinds of areas that we may continue our presentations. And in addition, try to get some new partners. So I've recently been talking to some other entities in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, who are in the arts. I think I spoke to you earlier, Ian, in the year when you were talking about having a jazz festival in Baltimore. Said, why can't I have one out here? Why do I always have to travel down 83? That's the thing. And I say that about the people who live in Baltimore County. Why do we always have to go? But that's kind of a pretty par for most major cities. You know, people flow into the cities where there are museums and art galleries and whatever. But I'm just trying to make a stab at that. There was something Henry remarked about age and people not wanting to go up his steps. So early in the career of our organization, we began to have events looking at the fact that the jazz audience is an older audience. We began to look at having events earlier in the day, rather than have them at 7:30, 8:30, and 9:30 when most people would like to be at home, maybe having them at 2 or 5 or 4. And this summer, when the libraries did their live streaming, they did them at 2 and at 5, which made more sense. So they had people from all across the country, but they still had more of this audience who likes jazz music. So in some instances, they would have like 88 or 100 people on this free streaming thing, not like the venues that you have to pay. But all of those concerts that we participated in May through October have been free events. Well, all you had to do was go on the library site. So what we do in that case is, because I'm the wife of an artist, and I'm really concerned about getting paid for my husband and for other artists, is to do some grant funding so that we can subsidize what is there, so that, you know, I can say to myself, well, there is not that much employment for them, but when they are employed by us, I want them to have a good wage. I don't care whether it's for 1 hour or 1 hour and a half or 2 hours, but usually those performances. So I've concerned myself with continuing the employment of local artists, making sure that they have sufficient funds when they finish this live streaming, and not just some, you know, maybe $25, $50, $75. I don't want to see that. And the other thing is having it at a time where people my age and people maybe in their 60s, 50s or whatever can participate without staying up all night or being in a smoky room. Well, that's not possible anymore. But the same concept applies. When we had the free fall bed, we started at 7:30. I wanted to start at 4. But there was a time in Baltimore where you could, you know, you could attend the jazz event at 1 or 2 o'clock on Saturday. Or I don't know why that's disappeared. You know, the audience is still, you know, an older audience. So why aren't we, I think one time Carl had an event at the Northwood Libraries at 11 o'clock in the morning. And there was a big crowd of people who came out to see him play. So I guess it's just the trend that we've always followed of having things late at night or late in the evening. And for some reason, people tend to hesitate to make that shift. So
I think, Barbara, can I just speak to that real quick? Because I'm gonna have to jump off. But I do think that, I mean, you can do an event anytime you want. I just think it's, particular to that point, I think it's how you market it. I mean, if you want to do something at 11 or 12 and call it a jazz brunch, or or a brown bag thing, people bring their lunch, or you do a 1 o'clock, you know, jazz in the afternoon. I mean, how you sort of market it, because I've found that, you know, even with the festival I just did, that started at, I think, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was outdoors. And when it's outdoors, people sort of expect it, I guess, to be earlier. Right. But, you know, even with a nightclub, if you, I've seen some things start at 5 on occasion. But I think it's a little bit in how you can market it, but being in control of how you want to do it, you know, it's up to you. But like I said, I'm gonna have to jump off right now, but it was a pleasure. Thank you, Ian. And it was a pleasure presenting with everybody and getting to see your faces after all this time and, you know, connecting.
Yeah,
So let me know what you're doing so I can include it in the magazine at least.
You got it.
And get it out there.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Okay,
Cheryl.
see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Okay, I'm gonna leave too and
All
run
right.
to,
Best
to
wishes
see-
to Carl once again.
yes, I'm gonna run to see him now. So
All right.
we'll
Bye,
take-
Barbara.